Okay, welcome guys. If you're interested in learning about 18th century drinking glass, then you are not going to want to miss a second of this video. This is going to be the definitive ultimate guide teaching you how to date and identify 18th century drinking glasses. Now, you'll have to excuse the surroundings due to the current lockdown situation. My shop is closed and I'm filming from home, and I'm in one of the children's bedrooms because that's the only place I can get quiet. This video is going to take me multiple days to film, so the background may change a little. Anyway, back to the important bit. 18th century drinking glasses. Now, first thing you look at is shape and everything else. However, we're going to look at all that in a bit. I'm going to talk first of all about the feet. Now, when I pick up a Georgian glass, as long as the shape looks good and the color looks good, first thing I look at is the Pontil Mark. What's a Pontil Mark? Well, if I just screen share here now, if you take a look at this, do you see the image here? So you have a drinking glass being blown, and what he's cutting off here is the rod that holds the glass and blows the glass. And when that is broken off or cut off, it leaves a scar. And if I come here, so this is an actual 18th century drinking glass foot, or photograph of a foot. Now, in the center there is the Pontil Mark. You can't see it very well there. So if I come across here, there it is. So this is what's known as a snapped or sharp Pontil Mark. Basically, it's been snapped off the rod and it hasn't been cleaned up. So you can imagine there's some sharp bits, there's big bumps and lumps of glass all in the center of the foot. That's an unbroken, an unpolished and unground Pontil Mark. Now, 18th century drinking glasses, we only started producing drinking glasses realistically in flint glass or lead glass from 1675 in England. So as you can imagine, throughout the whole 18th century, glass was evolving, so was the techniques for creating and decorating glass. Well, by about 1770, 1775, the skill involved in glass cutting had improved so much that they thought, well, why spend all this time cutting this beautiful glass and then leave the foot looking like that? So they started to ground out and polish smooth the foot. So anything pre-1770 should have a sharp pontil. There are exceptions to the rule, but 99% of what you find on the market will have a snapped or sharp Pontil Mark underneath if it predates 1770s. Now, that doesn't mean every glass out there with a snap Pontil dates to the 18th century, because there are fakes and forgeries and reproductions. Loads of companies such as Whitefriars or Powell Glass create glass in the Georgian style, and it's almost identical. It's really hard to tell them apart. I'm going to show you in just a second now a ground out Pontil, which is what we've just been discussing. So you imagine the first Pontil now is the sharp, big, lumpy that you can feel with your finger. No problem at all. It's just a mound in the center of the foot. Okay, so what you're looking at here, this is the underside of an early 19th century custard cup. And if you look on this inner rim here, I'm hoping you can see it, there is a distinct inner line. That is where you've got the foot coming down there, and then it literally dips in and back out. And then what they've done, they've ground it deep into the bowl, into the foot, and then they polish it smooth and clean. That's a polished Pontil Mark. It's not always easy to find, because sometimes they polish it right out to the rim and you just get this very small rim and then a big polished center. But you can always tell, use your fingers and hands rubbing it around the foot, you'll always tell a little lip where it's been ground and polished smooth. And they've been doing that since about 1770, 1775, give or take, somewhere around there. Okay, just briefly, just for the sake of mention, another tool mark that you will find later on in Victorian drinking glasses will be a Gadget tool mark, and this will look something like this. Okay, so if you look at the glass I have here, can you see this Let me just zoom in. You see this here, it looks like a letter T on his side. If it was up the other way, it would look like a letter T. That's known as a Gadget tool mark, and that's on glasses around 1860, 1880. Only mention it because a lot of people get confused thinking that's a Georgian mark, where it's not. It's actually a Victorian Pontil Mark. So that's your Pontil marks clear. They still use ground and polished Pontil marks on glasses even now, and have done since 1770. So that is just an indicator of it's not before 1770, and it's just good quality hand-blown glass. To date, a glass with a ground and polished Pontil, you've got to use a number of factors, which we're going to discuss throughout this film. Now you've identified what Pontil Mark is, you need authentic wear. And what do I mean by authentic wear? Well, drinking glasses, believe it or not, from 200 or 300 years of just having a drink and putting it down, will have hundreds and hundreds of little scratches on the actual underside of the foot. Now, the one thing you've got to be careful of is I've actually seen it with my own eyes, dealers buying Whitefriars examples, going outside on a wall and just going like this, back and forth on a wall to put tons and tons of wear under the foot. Now, the one thing that does, puts it all in the same direction, and it's all the same depth, and it's all the same sort of cut. When you're looking at genuine wear, it has to be in multiple directions, multiple depths, multiple thicknesses. You can tell authentic wear if you use a bit of common sense. I've got one here where I'm going to show you now. Okay, so this is the first of the images I want to show you, both of an 18th century Rythend dwarf ale. Now I want to zoom in here and show you the wear. This is natural wear. You get scratches going in all different directions. You got little tiniest of flea bites, microscopic flea bites. You got bits of dirt stuck in the wear. If you ever see bits of red house brick stuck in the wear, run away from the drinking glass. But this wear isn't just visible on the foot rim. Any low point that touches the floor. So if the foot is sort of funny shaped and there's a centerpiece that touches the floor as well, that should have wear as well. So use your common sense, and you're looking for authentic wear. Not sure if that was the same picture. Yeah, I think it was just zoomed in. So that's what you're looking for with wear. Whatever you do, use common sense. Okay, if you can see red house brick with somebody's gone like that on a house wall or on a garden wall, run away, because you know it's just a faked up glass. All right, use common sense when you're looking at the scratches and everything. I'll try, I don't know whether I've managed to find one or not, but I'll try and find some really good images of authentic wear for you close up and splice them in so you can actually see what authentic wear really does look like. So authentic wear is as important as Pontil Mark, because if you've got a 300-year-old glass and it has absolutely zero wear, then you've got to start saying to yourself, is it real or has it been acid dipped? Now, it may have been acid dipped to have it cleaned if it's got glass disease or something like that. Glass disease is misting or foxing in the glass like a milking, and they acid dip it to get rid of it. Will actually class as damage and devalue the glass. Collectors and dealers like to see authentic wear. Next thing we're going to look at, guys, is a folded foot. Now, you're going to hear me talk about folded feet quite a bit throughout the series of films. So I'm going to show you what is a folded foot. Okay, so the image we're looking at here now is a folded foot. Now, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in right up close to this. If you look here now, you can see you have the rim coming around here. Then if you look closely where the arrow is there, you have another rim coming around there. Now this is where basically they've made the foot and it's folded the glass back underneath. So this is up to this point, there's 2 layers of glass here, and rather than a proper rim, it's a curve and back under. That's a perfect example there of a folded foot. You ain't going to get a better picture, to be totally honest with you, there than that. So it's as simple as comes down and back under itself and stops. Now, there's a couple of reasons they done this. Originally, it was to stop chipping, have a cleaner finish, and more durable glass. Now, the foot of any drinking glass of the 18th century should at very least be equal to the diameter of the bowl, or greater. If it's smaller than the diameter of the bowl, it's something wrong. It's either been polished down or it's something definitely not right. Now, this folded foot was in use all the way up to about 1740. Some people argue 1750, but the book I'm going to show you later on clearly states it stopped or they'd stopped using it by 1740. There's bound to be exceptions to the rule, but they stopped using a folded foot by 1740. So anything with the folded foot is going to be 1740 or earlier. So that's always a very good indicator to look for. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen Whitefriars and that doing the reproductions with the folded foot. So that's a really, really good little indicator for you. There may be fakes out there, but as for reproductions, I don't think they've done them with a folded foot. Don't know why they got rid of the fold, to be totally honest with you, because it was very good at preventing chipping and making the glass really sturdy and, you know, exactly what it was designed to do. So we've now talked about the Pontil Mark, we've talked about authentic wear, and we've talked about a folded foot. Now we're going to look at the shapes of the feet. And the shape of the foot is very, very important. Okay, so the first foot we're going to look at is called a domed foot. And it is exactly what it says. It's a dome. Now, the drinking glass you're looking at here dates from about 1700, 1710, somewhere over there. This is from the heavy baluster period of the English glass. Now, I want to zoom in on the foot. So if I come up here. Now, if you look there, you can see it comes across flat and then up, over and back down. Very high kick in the middle. Now, there's all sorts of variations of this foot. I'll try and get another one for you now. Bear with me. Right, yes. I got one here. There's another variation there. So basically, it's a domed foot. Just comes across a little flat, then up and over and back down. That's a domed foot, and that foot was in use, let me see, for all the way up to, I'd say about 1750. You don't see it much past 1730. However, it was in use on some glasses all the way up to 1740, 1750. The next foot we're going to look at is conical. Now, let me zoom in on these. These are pedestal stems from about 1740 again, somewhere over there. 1730, 1740. Now look at the almost upside down trumpet of this foot here. There's a reason behind it. Look at this one, shallower. A lot shallower. The reasoning behind a domed foot or a conical foot is plain and simple. Because they had this big lump of glass on the underneath. You imagine a flat foot on a big lump of glass, it'd be like that, constantly rocking. So they had to then do that to hide that big lump of glass in the center, so you had a stable bottom. The domed foot was the earliest, then it became the conical, and they used the conical all the way through. Now, did you notice the difference between the steep conical coming down flatter and flatter? As time went along, so did the feet become flatter. As the methods become more refined, they add a smaller and smaller Pontil Mark until, as I said, 1770, when they started grounding it out and polishing it, and then you could have a flat foot because you no longer had to worry about this big lump of glass in the middle. So on the early glass, you're looking for a domed foot, certainly a folded foot, or a conical foot. So there are other feet. You've got a flanged foot, you've got a terraced foot, and you've got a flat foot. Now let me show you a terraced foot, what a terraced one looks like. Okay, so let me zoom in on this for you. You can see there it comes up in almost like steps. That's a terrace foot. Underneath that, it'll be smooth. It'll just be a plain conical underneath that, but you have the terraced on the outside. Very much like a conical foot, just used later on. Used, I think, from about 1740 on, something like that. This is a wine glass date into probably 1760, 1770. There we go. This is an example of a flanged foot. I couldn't find a glass with one because you just can't tell from the outside. It just looks almost like a flat foot. But that's what a flanged foot looks like. So it's cross and down. It's just, imagine it's just got like a foot coming off a flat foot. And that is your different types of feet. Another foot you got to look for a bit later on is a lemon squeezer foot. Now, why do they call it that? Because it literally looks like a lemon squeezer upside down. Let me show you an image of a lemon squeezer foot. And you find this on some rummers and Irish salts and things like that. So this is a picture of a sweetmeat glass or dish. But why I'm using it, it's got the lemon squeezer foot. Now I'm going to show you a close-up of the foot on the top and the bottom. So that's what they look like from the top there. So it's got the square base and then this lemon squeezer top. And if I show you the underneath, you can see exactly what I mean there. It looks like it's been put onto a lemon squeezer, literally. That's why they call these a lemon squeezer foot. Also, in addition to the domed foot, you've got pedestal molded glasses from about 1740, somewhere around 1740, and they also had like a molded dome. I haven't got an example of one of them to show you, but you could also get molded domes. The final one, which became a lot later on after 1775 through 1800 and on, is the flat, really thick firing type foot. Okay, guys, so what we have here is a picture of 5 opaque twist wine glasses. Now, these date from about 1740 to 1770. The one I'm interested in is the one on the left. If I come over here, take a look at that foot there. That is a flat foot for firing glass. So they were thick, flat, and really stable. So that's your feet, guys. You'll learn which foot goes with which glass as we go along and look at the different glasses. But all you need to know is early a domed, then conical. As the conical becomes lower and the pontil becomes smaller and cleaner, then it becomes a bit later. That's the way to help you with the Pontil Mark and the feet. To, of course, ground out polished. They still done conical sometimes with a ground out and polished pontil, but it's really shallow conical to almost flat. And that's the feet, guys.